maybe electronics, it is not sufficient to go for theoretical subjects only. You have to somewhere and somehow move towards project-based approaches. Because ultimately you have to land up either in your research orientations, research-based jobs, or as a developer, or as a coder, or maybe as a analyst, system analyst, and jobs like these. Am I audible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
that's good.
yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
wait. Okay, wait. So I want to make this point clear in your fifth semester only, that when you will be coming up in your seventh semester and eighth semester, you will be facing a project-based work, which is a compulsory component and compulsory subject in your final year. At that moment of time, you will be asked to build up a project in seventh semester and in eighth semester. So whenever I take up this subject in fifth semester, I keep this thing in information, in notice of the students that this subject is important, not because it's subject and you have to clear it for your BTech degree, but because it is the base. It is, the foundation for the projects you will build up in your future. For maybe you're building up your profile for your a job profile, for your resume, or for applying to a developer's job. Because whenever the developers interviews take place, the most simple and the easiest questions, but the most relevant ones, come from this subject. Why is it so? Because this subject contains a lot of modules, a lot of components like analysis, some other components like how to maintain the software, how to test the software, what are test tools, and how do you configure your softwares. So whatever is the basic for which is required for carrying out a project or a product, that is taken up from this subject. I hope this is clear that why do you study this? Because sometimes the students say this is more of theoretical subject, and this can be done up in last 3 or 4 days of the examination. We'll be able to push it up and complete it. No, that is not the point, because there are many companies like Adobe or ZS. ZS Associates, ZS Associates keeps on visiting our institute for placement, and it's a good company. Made students are definitely picked up, and over the years we have seen for the last 7 or 8 years that ZS Associates, which is Delhi based only, Delhi NCR based, and it is a good package also. It pulls up students who are good in analysis and case studies. So when students do not have the basis from this subject, do not have a foundation, clear foundation about the topics in this subject, they fail to clear the written test. And there are certain other also job profiles, like when you apply for GMRC system analyst jobs, or maybe government sector jobs. Then most of the job profiles which are in the range or in the domain of your system analyst, software analyst, senior system analyst, banking services में system analyst होते हैं. So there you need this particular subject. There you need this particular subject. I hope you should be able to know the importance of this subject. Is it clear, students? Yes, please keep responding. Is it clear that why do we have to study the subject? Yes, students?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
little bit.
Okay, little bit. I'll explain it more better, because this is an introductory class. And if in introductory class, if you're not able to understand the importance of the subject, then what should be the outcomes, outcomes of the subject, then you'll never be able to emphasize the importance throughout the semester. Keep on lingering it and keep on thinking it कि ये subject बहुत easy है, हम इसको 3-4 दिन में cover up कर सकते हैं, there are hardly few numericals, that's okay. But the whole software industry is divided into a back end and a front end developers profiles. But there is one section which is known as an analyst job, which requires the hardcore study out of this particular subject, which is software engineering. Sometimes in certain universities, when you will keep applying for MS, when you apply for MS in certain universities, when you go for triple IITs or IITs or NITs or maybe MTech when you go for gate examinations, many questions are asked from this subject, as what is a product cycle, what are product models, what is testing, what are testing test cases, and what is black box testing. I'm just giving you, an introduction to the subject. Then how is object oriented, modeling different from a structured approach? Then how does an analyst finds out what the customer requires, what the client requires? How is the client's project requirements carried out? How are they finalized? So these are some of the important issues which, while building up the project or the product, the client needs to be clarified. The developer needs to know what the product is to be made. The HR manager knows who all are to be recruited, how many people have to be, deployed for the product to be made. Obviously, the industry is divided into two types, the service industry and a product industry, product based and a service based. So both, whether it is service based, job for a software developer, or whether it is for the product based, this particular subject is of prime importance. Is you need to know, because you can face any question at any time. We talk about agile programming, right? We talk about software modeling. We talk about the testing cases. We talk about the maintenance models throughout the life cycle, right from the start, when a customer says, a client says, a product client says that I need a particular product to be built up for my a banking or insurance setup, where I need 100 PC software and a server software, and the server should be able to handle the queries from the clients. The clients are multiple, and there are hundreds and thousands spread across the globe. And then the client may say that it should be able to work on multiple platforms. Maybe it's open source Linux, Ubuntu, or maybe it can work on Android as well as Windows. And then the person can say, the client can say, I want that the testing should be done extensively and there should be no bug when the software is being worked on by me and my team. Then all these things, right from the first step, which I told you, that the client writes down and pens down all the requirements which he or she wants, the company wants, till the delivery of the product to the client from the company, right? And till the point that the software maintenance has been paid, the amount has been paid, and the maintenance has to be done every year, annually, biannually, quarterly, by the maintenance team of the company. The whole process, starting from the customer's requirement, the client's requirement, we say it's the client's needs and requirements towards the product, till the end, till the end of the maintenance, till the product is maintained every year, every month, whenever the error or bug is found out, whether the product is to be upgraded. This is called software engineering. This is called software engineering. Okay, so software engineering is somehow related to whatever I told you, that right from the start of the product, requirements being finalized between the team of the company and the client, till the end, where the maintenance is also present, involved in the cycle. This is called a software life cycle model. I repeat, this is called a software life cycle model. एक ऐसा मॉडल जो सॉफ्टवेयर की लाइफ साइकिल को डिफाइन करता है। एक सॉफ्टवेयर कैसे स्टार्ट होगा और कहाँ तक बनेगा, कहाँ एंड होगा, उसकी मेंटेनेंस होगी, उसकी टेस्टिंग होगी, so this is called a software engineering model. This may be known as a software life cycle model. This can be said as software process model. There are different names in which the question can be asked to you, but the basic essence of the meaning is the same. Is it clear? I hope the definition is clear, what we have to study. Please respond, students, so that I can proceed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There was a student who just said that little bit, who just responded to me a few minutes back saying that kuch samajh mein aaya hai. Who is that student? Please respond if you're able to understand why the subject is being taken up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Now you've understood. Very good. So when I say that software engineering, okay, let us split this, keywords into software and engineering. You all know what is engineering. You are studying. You are a BTech student right now, right? And software, what is it? What is a software? A software can be a service. A software can be, a piece of module which is well tested. A software can be a case study based process. A software can be a well-built algorithm which has been put to a code. A software can be a test suite or a test case. A software can be a complete full-fledged product launched into a company to solve its problems. So software is anything which, which right from a flow chart to, a a use diagram to a algorithm, and then to a code, and then from the code it is well tested, and then it is delivered. Okay. Sometimes when you see, this is an introductory class. Also, don't worry, I'll be taking up every topic in quite detailed manner. But right now in first class, you need to get interest into the subject. That's more important. So when I say a software, the software is not a product. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, हम कहते हैं कि हमने प्रोडक्ट को डिलीवर कर दिया एक क्लाइंट की मशीन पर। हम ऐसे बोलते हैं ना कि एक क्लाइंट का रिक्वायरमेंट था और हमने एक प्रोडक्ट को डिलीवर कर दिया कहाँ पे? क्लाइंट की मशीन में। वी टेस्टेड इट एंड वी हैव डिलीवर्ड इट, राइट? बट दैट प्रोडक्ट विच वी हैव डिलीवर्ड इज नॉट सॉफ्टवेयर. Somehow students, get confused. Students get confused between the two terms. They get confused between the term the product and the software, right? But software is not product and the product is not software. Why? I'll ask you one question. Can somebody please respond? Can somebody please respond that if suppose a software, a kind of a product, let's suppose I gave you an application to be installed in your machine, and then you say, ma'am, how to work on it? आपका एक कॉमन सा क्वेश्चन होगा कि मैम इसमें हम काम कैसे करें, हम इस पे कैसे काम करें? ठीक है, तो फिर क्या होगा? आप मुझसे पूछेंगे कि कैसे काम होगा, तो इसका मतलब आप टीम से, डेवलपर से पूछते हैं कि हाउ टू वर्क इन इट. Then that means there must be some set of guidelines, or some set of rules, or some methods, step 1, step 2, step 3 to step number n, which has to be written and delivered to the customer कि आपको पहले इंस्टॉल करना है, फिर इसकी आपको फाइल्स को इंपोर्ट करना है, आपको इसका JUI क्रिएट करना है, आपको इसका ID क्रिएट करना है, ठीक है, सपोर्टिंग फाइल्स लेनी है, आपको इसकी लाइब्रेरीज लेनी है. तो इसका ये मतलब है कि आपको उसका एनवायरनमेंट को क्रिएट करना है. ठीक है, दैट मीन्स अ प्रोडक्ट इज नॉट अ सॉफ्टवेयर. A product is not a software. A product is different from software. What I mean to say, that you have created a product, you have created a piece of code, but if you do not provide, the necessary instructions, the necessary installation procedures, the necessary user guide, the user manual, a system manual alongside, along with this particular piece of code, the user will never be able to run that software properly. Is this point clear to you, beta? Yes, students, please
Yes,
come up
ma'am.
and respond. Okay, so any student from your batch who is present here, can please brief me back that what is the difference between a product and a software? Yes, any student. Not too precise, but जो भी आपको समझ में आया. Can you please brief me? एक product और software में क्या difference है? Software engineering, product engineering नहीं है. Why so? Please, can anybody please repeat?
मैम जैसा कि
Yes.
अभी आपने बताया कि सॉफ्टवेयर, जो मैंने पहले पढ़ा था कि सॉफ्टवेयर एक .exe फाइल होती है, और
Okay.
आपने इसे बताया कि प्रोडक्ट वो होगा जिसमें हमारा यूज़र गाइडलाइंस और मैनुअल ये सब दिया जाएगा. सॉफ्टवेयर बस एक फाइल होगी जो हम कस्टमर को दे
You're
देंगे
just
कि
saying.
अपने सिस्टम में इंस्टॉल करें.
Okay. Uh, let me clarify on this point. Whatever you're saying is just reverse of it. A product can be a piece of code. It can be a small unit of algorithm converted down into a code with some certain kind of executable file, which you are saying. But software engineering is a study of the software which includes documentation, right? तो आप जो बोल रहे हैं ना प्रोडक्ट और सॉफ्टवेयर, बिल्कुल करेक्ट है, बट दिस इज वाइस वर्सा ऑफ इट, दिस इज रिवर्स ऑफ इट. दैट आपके पास जो कोड है, एल्गोरिथम है, उसको आप सप्लीमेंट करेंगे. किससे सप्लीमेंट करेंगे? यू विल सप्लीमेंट इट विद अ पीस ऑफ लैंग्वेज, विद पीस ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शंस, विद गाइडलाइंस, विद यूजर मैनुअल, विद सिस्टम मैनुअल, विद डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. किसी भी टाइप के सॉफ्टवेयर के साथ हम इसको अटैच करेंगे. दैट बिकम्स अ स्टडी व्हिच इज कॉल्ड सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग. ओके, सो सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट. जस्ट टेक दिस इनटू पॉइंट कि आप सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोडक्ट को आप कंफ्यूज हो रहे हो. ठीक है, आपको बात समझ में आ गई है बेटा? देखो, जब भी हम कोई कोड लिखते हैं, मैं रिपीट करती हूँ ताकि सारी क्लास में क्लियर हो जाए बात. व्हेनेवर आई से अ सॉफ्टवेयर इज बीइंग बिल्ड अप, दैट सॉफ्टवेयर इज अ पीस ऑफ कोड और अ प्रोडक्ट. वो कोड है. ठीक है, वो एक सिर्फ एग्जीक्यूटिबल फाइल है, बट उसको चलाने के लिए, उसको रन करने के लिए, उसको स्मूथली वर्कआउट करने के लिए उस पर्टिकुलर एनवायरनमेंट में आपको सपोर्टिंग फाइल्स चाहिए, राइट? आपको लाइब्रेरीज चाहिए, देन यू नीड इंस्ट्रक्शन फाइल, यू नीड, इफ यू आर सपोज मेस्ड अप एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम व्हाइल रनिंग द सॉफ्टवेयर और द प्रोडक्ट, तो आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा, आपको उसको एरर को फ्री करने के लिए आप उसका मैनुअल रीचेक करेंगे कि कहाँ अटक गए, कहाँ पे आप यू आर स्ट्रक अप. So all that documentation which you provide together with that product which you have created, with that particular piece of code, then that is basically software engineering. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. And what about then what about ma'am product?
Yeah, just wait for 1 second, beta. I'll just come back. Wait for 1 minute. Yes, students. I'm back. ठीक है बेटा, आपका क्वेश्चन मेरे से ये है कि एक प्रोडक्ट क्या होता है. ठीक है, मैं आपको ना शुरू से बताती हूँ, एक्सप्लेन करती हूँ. जब आप कोई भी पीस ऑफ कोड लिखते हो तो वो आपका क्या होता है, सोर्स कोड, राइट? वो आपका क्या होता है बेटा? यस, रिस्पॉन्ड.
Source code.
सोर्स कोड.
source
सोर्स
code.
कोड, राइट. सोर्स कोड को जब आप कन्वर्ट करते हो टू बी डिजायरेबल so that it can run on the machine, user's machine, then that becomes an executable file, right? That becomes an executable file or an application. Is it right? Whether you're working on a mobile or you're working on a PC or you're working on a server, that becomes an application. So now here's the difference between a source code and an application or an executable. Now when you're struck up and you require certain guidelines to run it, then you need certain manuals, right? Then that becomes a complete product or a software, right? Now product engineering and software engineering में difference क्या है कि आप जब product को documentation से impose करोगे and you will give everything which is required in the environment, that becomes software engineering. So you can say software engineering is the master. Software engineering is at the top of the hierarchy. Below the software engineering lies the product engineering, and then below it lies the code, and below the code lies the algorithms, and below the algorithms lies the flowchart. So it is from top to bottom. That at the top we are having the system engineering or the software engineering. Below it we are launching the code. The code is built up from the algorithm, and the algorithm is built up from the logics. Is it clear? So at the top of the hierarchy, it is the software engineering. Is it clear? Is it clear, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
मैम बट
बोलो.
मैम एक क्वेश्चन था मैम.
हाँ हाँ
मैम
बोलो.
chrome.exe एक प्रोडक्ट है या सॉफ्टवेयर हम कहेंगे उसे?
It's a file. It's not a software. It's a file. It's a file.
Only file.
It's a file. Whenever you say that it's a .exe file, it's a file. It's not a product, it's a software. I told you this thing, that's a piece of code which has been converted into an executable. ताकि वो executable run हो सके client machine में. But when you support it with all the other, everything which is required to run it properly, it becomes a software. That means it requires
तो
manuals and types to it.
मैम जैसे हम अगर इंटरनेट प्रोवाइड कर देते हैं उसके बाद रन करते हैं कोई ब्राउजर, तो वो फिर सॉफ्टवेयर का, तो देन वी कैन से
No, listen. And what if it halts? It glitches, it requires certain library, or it needs some file to be upgraded, or it needs some piece of software which has been provided by internet on an alert saying that you need to upgrade it into the next version. Then you need to download the library, install it into your system, and run it to upgrade your .exe file. ऐसा होता है ना? ऐसा
यस
होता है.
मैम. यस
तब
यस
उसको आप क्या कहोगे? तब इसका मतलब कि आपका सॉफ्टवेयर फेल हो गया? नहीं, आपकी फाइल अभी भी रन कर रही है, बट फॉर बेटर सर्विसेज ऑन योर मशीन और बेटर एप्लीकेशन अवेलेबिलिटीज ऑन योर मशीन, यू नीड टू अपग्रेड इट. देन एट दैट मोमेंट ऑफ टाइम आप क्या कहोगे कि हमारे पास और इंस्ट्रक्शंस आई हैं, हमारे पास और पॉसिबिलिटीज आई हैं, हम उसको इंस्टॉल कर रहे हैं और हम अपने पर्टिकुलर ऐप को या पर्टिकुलर एग्जीक्यूटिवल्स को या अपनी पर्टिकुलर फाइल को हम क्या कर रहे हैं, वी आर ट्राइंग टू अपग्रेड इट फॉर मोर पॉसिबिलिटीज. ठीक है? At that time you say that everything in collection, everything in collection, okay, everything in collection becomes the subject software engineering. Everything in collection means software engineering. Okay, that's not a product. That executable is a file. Okay, आप समझ रहे हो मैं जो आपको समझा रही हूँ? जो आपने मुझसे पूछा कि जो क्रोम का एग्जीक्यूटेबल है वो क्या है, वो एक फाइल है, जस्ट अ पीस ऑफ फाइल, ठीक है, दैट इज सपोर्टेड बाय मेनी अदर थिंग्स इन योर एनवायरमेंट. And who supports that environment? The server at the Google. Okay, and what is it providing? It's providing, you know, various libraries to upgrade your executable again and again, again and again. So the whole concept becomes software engineering. So it is a totality. Okay, so software engineering is a total. It's the top of the, you know, it's at the top of the hierarchy. Everything comes beyond it. And the thing you have asked is at the almost at the lowest, at the bottommost. ठीक है, वो बॉटम मोस्ट पे है, जो एग्जीक्यूटेबल फाइल है वो बॉटम मोस्ट पे, उसके ऊपर आपके फोल्डर्स हैं, लाइब्रेरीज हैं, उसके ऊपर आपका एनवायरनमेंट है, ठीक है, उसके ऊपर आपका अपग्रेड, आपका कॉन्फ़िगर्ड फाइल्स, एनवायरनमेंट, पूरा सब्जेक्ट जो है वो आपका सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग है. आप धीरे धीरे समझेंगे, ठीक है, यू विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड जैसे जैसे हम चैप्टर्स को आगे पढ़ेंगे. ओके, इज इट क्लियर?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here we have taken up, you know, the introduction. Now I am sharing this particular PDF. ये PDF आपकी textbook है. The textbook is by K.K. Agarwal, है ना, right? So K.K. Agarwal की जो book है, that is the book which I wanted to tell you that this is a book which is written by, you know, BCA people, by students studying MCA, by, you know, the students studying MTech, the students studying BTech, the students studying, you know, PhD. So it's a basic. It's you know, in India, if it's talking specific in, you know, in Indian universities, then we can say that this is the book which is referred by almost every student for clearing the fundamentals, for clearing the basics. Then we have other books also which we can refer, but right now from your point of view, from your examination point of view, I believe that this book is enough for a start. Enough for a start. Major questions from your for your examinations when it comes to theoretical examination or you know, objective comes from this particular book. So first of all, we'll try to finish the book, which is your textbook, which is this one. Okay, is that clear that I'm talking about book by K.K. Agarwal, Professor K.K. Agarwal and Professor U.K. Singh? Okay, is that clear which book we are referring and whose PDF is this? As you can see, the name is Software Engineering, third edition by K.K. Agarwal. Okay, is that clear, beta? Please respond.
We are seeing the second slide of
Yeah, that's
not
okay.
the
That's
book.
okay. No, that's okay. I will be posting this particular book in the file section of your software engineering channel.
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am. Okay.
I'll be putting up a complete PDF because sometimes it happens that you're not able to go to library, you're not able to avail the book bank right now because of you know, this Corona situation. So that's not a problem. I've already have the PDF and PPTs for this particular book, and I'll be uploading it in some time in the file section of software engineering channel of your teams. So I think that will be available to all. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, beta. And these are the starting slides. You can see that according to the IBM report, are you able to see slide number 5 right now? Are you able to see slide number 5?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So you
ma'am.
can see that this is very good. And you can see that this is one of the statement which has been put by this particular book, that 31% of the project gets cancelled before they're completed. 53% run overrun the cost estimates by an average of 189%, and over 100 projects then 94 starts. You can see that out of 100 projects, 31% of the projects get cancelled before they're completed because of many issues that we'll discuss in chapter number 3 and 4. And then we have 53% overrun because the cost, you know, budgetary estimates are not done properly by the analyst teams. This is the work, you know, this is the work. This cost estimation is a very important a topic from your course. You'll study it in unit number 2, and many numericals, much of the numericals from your subjects are coming from this particular topic, which is cost estimation. Okay, and then you can see that I'll go to slide number 6. This is the hardware cost and this is the software cost. As you can see, right from, because this is a book which has been reprinted and, you know, reprinted again and again and reviewed again and again. So this is the data which is cut from 1960 to 99, not an issue because this is an exploratory graph. And then we have a hardware cost and a software cost which is rising, and we can see that till the year 1999 the hardware cost ratio software cost is decreasing, it's declining. So you can see how cheap the products and, you know, the microprocessor technology, the chip industry, the software industry is going low in the cost of the production, but the usage is more. you can easily see that from hundreds to thousands to millions of people to trillions of internet users are there. So every user who is connected to internet must be having a device, whether it's a mobile or laptop or PC or whatever. Because without a device you can't connect to internet, and without a device you can't run any software or piece of product. So that means the hardware cost and the software cost, as it increased in 1960, it gradually decreased in the year 1999, and still the graph is the same for 2010 and 2020 also. तो यहाँ से हम ये देखते हैं कि हमारा जो चिप इंडस्ट्री है, हार्डवेयर कॉस्ट था वो हमारा बहुत हाई था पहले. To produce a chip, to produce a small chip or a microchip, it used to cost a lot. But slowly and steadily over the years have passed, microprocessor chip, the chip industry, the semiconductor industry, it has tried to evolve so smoothly and so fantastically that the chip cost is very, very low, right? And that is the problem, that over the hardware cost is so low and the software industries have boomed up and there are lots of software developments going on, that the internet users have to keep a pace with the number of softwares and hardware costs. So this diagram illustrates that. And this is a famous law, you must know this thing. आप कभी भी कहीं पर भी डिस्कशंस में, रिसर्च प्रोग्राम्स में जाएंगे, जब भी आप माइक्रो कंट्रोलर्स, माइक्रो प्रोसेसर्स, एम्बेडेड मशीन्स, एम्बेडेड प्रोसेसर्स की बात करेंगे, and you are sitting and talking in a community of people who keep discussing about the processors, then you must know this law, which is called Moore's law. Are you able to see this? Are you able to see this Moore's law? I have shared it. Yes, students.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So unlike
slide number 7.
Yes, right. So slide number 7 states Moore's law. It states processor speed slash memory capacity doubles every 2 years. ठीक है, इसका क्या मतलब है? आप देखिए यहाँ पे productivity. On the y-axis we were able to see productivity, and on the x-axis we have a time span of at a unit scale of 10 years. आप देखिए यहाँ पे जो hardware की requirement है, वो हर 2 साल में, every 2 years it doubles. That means so many machines are evolving. You can see that every person, every student like you people are having a device. Every person like me are having a device. Every person in this globe, whosoever you see, must be having a device or something. Very rarely few people who are not having hardware, who are not having a mobile device, who are not having a PC, who are not having a laptop, who are not having tab. Everybody has a single device at least. Let's leave the exceptions, but most of the population is having a hardware, right? So when the hardware evolution is too high, when the hardware requirement is too high, as we can see, the hardware is shooting up exponentially and it is going up, and its capacity is doubling every 2 years. And what about the software? You can see the software requirement is not increasing to that extent as we can see the hardware, right? So Moore's law state that processor speed and memory capacity is doubling every 2 years. There's a huge requirement because the number of devices and the hardware users are too many. They are increasing exponentially, manyfold. They are increasing manyfold, right? So we have the next slide. We can move to this particular slide. This is slide number 9. Is it visible? Yes, please see. This is slide number 9? Factors contributing to the software crisis. Yes, please respond, students.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. In last slide, the hardware is memory and processor speed increases every 2 years. Double every in 2 years. But in
Every
but why the software slope is
because it is a very simple answer to this question, because the software doesn't need to be changed, or it doesn't get evolved too fast. Once the software is installed in the device, it needs an updation or it needs an upgradation only, and the upgradation is just a piece of code that needs to be run to create a new version of it. It's never that create a software in 10 years or 5 years and install it in the client's machine, and then as per the requirement changes you need to make or build up a new software entirely. It is not that point. But in order to keep up with the internet requirements, with the network capabilities, or with the server capabilities, you need to change the hardware. You cannot just put a large piece of maybe 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter chip in a small mobile handset, right? I hope this solves your question. मैं फिर से आपको बताती हूँ कि it's a very simple
yes.
answer to your question कि अगर आपका पहले
Yes,
बहुत
I
बड़े
understand.
you understood that now we have a screen size, we have a very small screen size in our mobiles. Very handy machines are with us, and you cannot expect a large, huge size chip to be inserted into a मोबाइल डिवाइस। I'm explaining you in a very simple language. ठीक है, मैं आपको बहुत आसानी से समझा रही हूँ, क्योंकि मोबाइल की स्क्रीन को फिट करने के लिए आप ये नहीं एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते कि आपका 10x10 सेंटीमीटर स्क्वायर का आप एक चिप इंस्टॉल कर दें. So that means that every time a new hardware or a device comes up or gets launched by a certain organization, certain company to the market, the requirement for the chips simultaneously increases. But the software doesn't increase. The software just needs an updation or upgradation or just it's a genuine version change. Is it clear? I hope it solves the answer. Bache?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as we discussed, the software crisis. Software crisis में मैंने आपको ये बताया कि software crisis. I'm being very slow in this particular lecture, but I'll be picking up, speed so that we are able to finish up the course timely. Okay, so in the introductory classes, I'll be focusing more on the, on clearing the concepts. Conceptual हम बहुत आराम से पढ़ेंगे, धीरे धीरे पढ़ेंगे, so that later on when we move to technical topics, we'll rush in, and so that you are able to solve the numericals and algorithms much more fast, because you're an IT student, I expect you people to be fast enough to catch up with the algorithms. But मैं धीरे धीरे इसको स्पीड बढ़ाऊंगी ताकि आप लोग इस सब्जेक्ट को यूज टू कर लें. ठीक है, अब हम यहाँ पे देखते हैं कि सॉफ्टवेयर क्राइसिस मैंने अभी बताया आपको कि क्या होता है. बताओ, सॉफ्टवेयर क्राइसिस when we discussed that number of projects are landed up to crash. Some projects are never ended up successfully. Some projects never take up the code properly. They're not tested properly. They're not functional. The customers are not, clients are not happy because they're working. They have upgraded their machines, but the software is not able to upgrade. And some people, some employees in the department or an institution or maybe some company are not able to cope up with that particular software, and they run up to technology upgradation. Some people need training to work on the softwares. There are number of issues. Some of them are issues like larger problems, lack of adequate training in software engineers. Let's suppose we teachers do not get adapted to more and more kinds of technology and languages, and students will never be able to satisfy. Or if you students are never able to cope up with the technology advancements, आज आपने C पढ़ा, then the next year you studied C++, and then C and C++ are more into the logics now only. They are more or less not implemented. Now we have come up to Agile, we have come up to JavaScript, we have come up to .NET, and then we have React, and then we have Node.js, and then we have number of technologies coming up. We have now Flutter. So as the market rises, you can very well see the faculty also has to get updated. The students have to get updated. हमसे ज़्यादा requirement students को है update करने की, because when they file up a resume or a biodata, to a company, then they automatically get rejected, because if you are able to write only C++, who will take you? ठीक है, आपका डेटा स्ट्रक्चर एल्गोरिथम बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग होगा. दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर profile, but you need to learn a language which is in the market, right? So lack of adequate training. Many a times the people keep on working with the old technologies and new languages, right? And they are never trained. And increasing skill shortage. You keep on saying about skill development. Obviously, a person theoretically how much he or she may be fantastic in, maybe marvelous in writing down essays and notes and algorithms and flowcharts. But when it comes to skill of developing that particular piece of code, that developing that particular piece of turn down that algorithm into a code, that is called skill. So there's a lack of skill. There's a shortage of skill in the market, in industry, in IT industry. And then we have low productivity improvements. Productivity has been done, more codes have been made, more softwares have been there, more versions of the softwares have been released, but still it is not adequate. They need to be improvised, or they need to be improved. Okay. And then we have some software failures that you can read it on your own. I hope there's no problem. You can read it, that how a small bug created a whole crash of the system over the globe. And we can see certain examples. I have quoted it down. This particular, Professor K.K. Agarwal has beautifully quoted it in the book. And you can see all these problems. This was a Y2K problem. You must not be, there in the time of 99 to 2000, as I believe this is 2021. Many students not having there at that time, but we faced it, because when it came down to 2000, the entire IT industry in December 1999, it faced a problem, how to turn back the software dates to Y2K. Year 2000, because there was no provision made to almost any of the software across the world in any of the company who would cope up from converting from 1999 to 2000. And so a whole the half of the year starting from June 1999 to December 1999 was taken up by every company to solve this problem, and fortunately it was solved, and the systems did not got crashed. Okay, so there are certain problems which have been discussed here. and you can read it. I'll be uploading this particular file PDF in your Teams channel file section. You can see there are lots of problems. Somewhere the software failed, somewhere the problems were fixed, and problems were resolved, and there was not a loss. And then we have various examples of turning from Windows, XP and Windows 8 and Windows 9 and then Windows 10 and so forth. And we see that a lot of patches have been done to the previous software or operating system to cover it to the new operating system, or this can happen to any software. There is no silver bullet. This is a very important slide, that the hardware cost continues to decline drastically. As I told you in the Moon's law, as I told you in slide number 6, you must have seen that the hardware cost continues to decline drastically. मैंने आपको भी बताया ना, hardware cost बहुत कम होता चला जाता है. You can see that high end जो आपके एक server capability थी, आज आपके एक mobile device में, you can buy a mobile for $1,000 also, and you can buy a mobile for $2,000 also. Even a mobile having $1,000 will have the basic functionalities which at some time in 70s and 80s and 90s used to have it in we used to have it in a full-fledged server and a client machine, right? Now it is available in a small handset. It's available in a small, handheld device, like a small piece of mobile. So the hardware cost has declined. However, there are desperate cries for silver bullet, something to make a software cost drop, but it's not the case. The software cost doesn't drop. Even if they hire up a software developer and say that I want to make up which एक React का एक छोटा सा piece of code करना है, which company is demanding, then the programmer, a freelancer will demand, okay, I'll take up 80,000 and make something like this. Okay, so you can see कि हमारा जो software cost है वो decline नहीं करता. ठीक है, so there's no silver bullet, and so we have to work in this line. That is why the subject software engineering is very, 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 very important, because it needs to study the basics. Because without knowing the basics of this subject, no person can understand how analysis is to be done. No person can understand how the code is to be done. No person can ever make a full-fledged software with zero errors and full maintenance. I hope the introduction is clear. In the next class, we'll be making up to the next topic. Please do not leave the class, because I'll be stop sharing and downloading the attendance first.